Hello, everyone. I am trying out my headphones tonight to see if that will do better sound. I think the microphone's right here. Uh, and this one, it looks like it's coming out of my ear. You have reached the Morning Manna podcast for April the 14th, which is Monday of Holy Week. And so I thought that I would kind of deviate a little bit from being in the Proverbs. Today, our reading would have been from Proverbs 14. And I am going to read some scripture out of the book of, the book of John, chapter 12, verses 1 through 11. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what happened on Monday when, after the Sunday where Jesus made his triumphal entry. So, here we go, the Gospel of John, chapter 12, verses 1 through 11. 6 days before Passover, Jesus went to Bethany, where Lazarus was, whom he had raised from the dead. They gave a dinner for him there. Martha waited on them, and Lazarus was among those at the table. Mary brought in a pound of very costly ointment, pure nard, and with it anointed the feet of Jesus, wiping them with her hair. The house was filled with the scent of the ointment. Then Judas Iscariot, one of the disciples, the man who was to betray him, said, "Why was this ointment not sold for 300 denarii and the money given to the poor?" He said this not because he cared about the poor, but because he was a thief. He was in charge of the common fund and used to help himself to the contents. So Jesus said, "Leave her alone. Let her keep it for the day of my burial. You have the poor with you always. You will not always have me." Meanwhile, a large number of Jews heard that he was there and came not only on account of Jesus, but also to see Lazarus, whom he had raised from the dead. Then the chief priests decided to kill Lazarus as well, since it was on his account that many of the Jews were leaving them and believing in Jesus. Wow, what a gospel reading today. Okay, so it says 6 days before the Passover. And we know that Jesus was the Passover lamb. So, 6 days before he became the Passover lamb, he was at Lazarus' house. And obviously, they were good friends. So, here he is. He's at Lazarus, and people are there not because they love Jesus. Some are, but most people are there. They are the authorities, and they are looking for a way to kill Jesus. And then we have Judas, who was, according to the scripture that we just read, a thief. Now, while I read that, something interesting happened in my brain, as so often happens when I read scripture. On either side of Jesus, there were two thieves. I wonder, was Judas one of those two thieves? And if so, which one? Or do we know which one? We've always thought of Judas as going to hell because he hung himself. Was he caught as a thief and crucified next to Jesus? That's something to think about. It was just a thought that popped into my head. It is not, I have no scriptural basis for it, so please do not fuss at me about it. The other thing that Jesus did on Monday was that he went early in the morning to the temple and he looked around to see what was going on at the temple. And what do you think? This was the day in which he cleared out the money changers and those who sold the sacrifices and wailed upon them with his whip and said, "You have made my father's house a den of thieves." And there you go again, a bunch of thieves. And he cleared out the temple and sent the money changers running, establishing for us the fact that, number one, God's not interested in our outward sacrifices. He's not interested in those. He's interested in a relationship. That when we go to temple, when we go to church, we are there to meet with God. We're not there to fellowship. We're not there to establish our little programs. We are there to meet with God and have communion with Him and pray and lift our minds from this earthly realm that we live in to the heavenly realm. And that is the Morning Manna podcast for today, Monday, the first day of Holy Week. And until next time, please take a little minute and be still in His presence and know that He is God